technology infusion. Mr. Sen has looked at the vehicle from a component level to a system level and also at a business level. He has developed expertise in customer-driven quality and product development and customer satisfaction. Today he joins us to discuss the key challenges in the EV product development and the critical factors that we cannot afford to overlook. We look forward to the insights from Mr. Sen and welcome you, Mr. Sen, on behalf of today's participants and Team Gyanki. Welcome, sir.
Thank you, Shashwat, and thank you, Shekhar, for inviting me. Good morning, everybody. And I'm Keshab Sen, and today we'll be talking about the reliability and durability. As you please remember that reliability and durability is always in the top of customer's mind whenever he thinks of quality. And that's how he connects quality with reliable and durable product, of course, depending on his purchase power. So whether it's EV or a common automobile or any product, customer focuses directly or indirectly on reliability and durability. I'm lucky to working with companies which have been always focused on reliability and durability. Presently, I'm working with Ramakrishna Forging Limited, and which is known for, thanks to the visionary chairman MP Jalan's vision of bringing latest technology, manufacturing processes, all focused mainly on quality, reliability, and durability. And that's how Ramakrishna Forging has become one of the leading manufacturers, not only in India, but in the globe. More than 40% is all exported and being manufactured and supplied to all major OEMs in India and elsewhere. Similarly, my previous experience have been with Tata's, and we all know they build this trust Tata or trust on Tata, basically for years and years of customer service they have given due to, mainly due to reliable and durable product. In today's context, reliability and durability becomes very important. The subject is electric vehicles, and we see many launch happening and many many startups trying to come in this segment. And I thought this is one area which is slightly not exactly overlooked, but this is one area where we need to focus while we are designing or manufacturing or trying and testing. The topic of reliability and durability always will be associated with any launch, any new product. And today I'm going to cover a lot on the importance of following the processes of the entire product development and following the process of vehicle testing and trials so that customer gets what he's looking for. Let's go to the presentation and I'll walk you through the basics of reliability durability just to brush up and then take you to what's happening today and what is the way forward. Let's go over to presentation. Allow me to make a short presentation on this. Thank you. Over to the presentation. Is it visible?
Yes.
Okay, so let us look at reliability in a very different angle altogether.
May I request you to go to full screen or presentation mode?
Yeah, I'm trying that. Yeah.
Okay.
Can you see
okay.
that?
Yes.
Just a very simple diagram here on reliability and durability, and we try to understand what is reliable and what is durable. Reliable is something which is something frequency of breakdown, what you see on the bottom, which is written mean time to first failure, that is early failures, mean time between failures, and mean time to failure. But durability is something the life of the vehicle. Remember the 70s when we had very tough, rugged cars known for durability. They lasted long, they lasted almost 2 generations. Then Japanese came, they changed the game and they brought in, they said, why you spend so much on durability? You design, over-design things. And what smart thing they did? They paid attention to reliability and they cut the cost unnecessarily being spent on the vehicle weight, on excess design, etc. And they made reliable products. Please understand what they are trying to do. They are trying to give a life which is required 10 to 15 years. They don't want to give a life of 50 years. But at the same time, they are given something which lasts but never breaks down. I had an ambassador. I will go from one town to another, break down twice. But the ambassador lasted for 20 years, 30 years. That's durable, but that's not reliable. But now, today we are in the middle of 21st century and electronics is everywhere. Industry 4.0 is here. All facilities are available. And that is why what is going to happen that EV, electric vehicle, will also demand everything now, which earlier somebody said reliability, somebody durability. Now EV is going to demand reliability and durability both. More so because the topic today is adoption. And who is going to back EV the most? Is institutions, the banks, customer will certainly be there. But what are they looking for? They're looking for long life of the vehicle. Then only they're going to back it up. And that is why I said for EV adoption, the durability and reliability go both hand in hand, and we need to focus there. Look at this chart, which is known as the key buying factor. The age-old chart, that high importance and high impact. Let me elaborate. High importance, you leave home with your family to buy a car and you say, I want to buy the latest car, I want to buy the most sleek car, I want to buy the most modern car fit with gadgets. But finally, when you start buying it, the impact comes from the mileage, the basic safety, the performance. Because in India, we still believe, and this story was understood by Maruti and companies like that, and they had an ad campaign, Kitna deti hai. They also said, kahan par service available hai? Because that's the Indian customer. And don't you think the EV is going to follow the same path? Same time, the game was also changed by Tesla. Tesla broke the game and they said, and you see the question mark here? The question mark is something like the area where you don't pay importance, but it comes to you, you'll be delighted. And that's what Tesla did. They understood customer in a very different way. But India is not Tesla story as of now. To elaborate this question mark, once again, I tell you that say 30 years back, somebody was doing a customer survey for mobile phone and they asked you, will you like to have a camera in the phone? You would have laughed 30 years back. A camera is different, phone is different, let me use the phone for talking. But now, so these question mark areas known as the hidden opportunity, which we all try to find out, we all try to gimmick, we all try to put technology and say this will give the delight to the customer. And that is why this point topic becomes very important, that we are chasing something to delight the customer, but forgetting the rudimentary called reliability and durability. Now, today, why are we speaking of this? Because there's so much of challenge coming in. I won't say any name or anything particularly, but there is a rush. There is a rush for electric vehicles. But you see the challenges are so many. The duty cycles are different. Environment condition, India is a vast country. Temperature, load, everything, humidity, moisture, everything changing. And similarly, the biggest challenge now today is coming that OEMs do not have enough data. See, until unless the customer sees the life cycle of the vehicle, he doesn't trust us. And another challenge what I see is many of the EVs are made by non-traditional OEMs. And last but not the least, what you see on the right hand side, a lot of attractive add-ons are being given for that question mark area, where the customer feels you will be able to attract the customer because something unique, something special is going to come. But if the vehicle doesn't last long, it keeps breaking down, the customer is not going to accept it. And just to summarize those points, here you find what is going to happen, what is happening today. That you find that non-conventional players are coming. Second most important thing I feel very strongly about is that component manufacturers overlooking failure modes of automotive domain. You apply electric motor for pumps, that's different. But automotive domain is different. It may not get enough air to cool. May have so much of water coming in. Integrators are overlooking failures from other components. Like I always tell that you take Xerox of Xerox, Xerox of Xerox, the quality goes down. Similarly, throughput quality is also dependent on the system. 0.9 into 0.9 into 0.9 will naturally less than 0.7. So this is what, and there is always a rush to launch. and we'll come to that later. That how do we tackle that? So
Uh,
indirectly, yeah,
Keshav, just 1 second. There may be a box showing up on your screen. You can minimize it, because then, yeah,
yeah, yeah,
thanks.
yeah. Thank you. So launch your product, we'll discuss that. All I'm trying to say so far is that EV or any product, the customer will like it because it has to be reliable and durable. And particularly for vehicle segment, the financing is important. And financer will always look at the residual value, how long it lasts. Indirectly, I'm trying to say if we have to make the EV journey a successful journey, you must focus on reliability and durability. And how will address that? My screen struck. I'm trying pressing all. Yeah,
Yeah.
sorry.
Okay. Here.
So let's look at the typical electrical vehicle systems. There are the four main systems. A vehicle body, that is where you are housing it, is something like what is happening today, that you remove the IC engine and put it the electric vehicle. The vehicle body remains almost the same. That's a different topic of discussion, that what should we do with that. But there's a vehicle body, there's electric powertrain, there's battery pack and electrical peripherals. Let's understand that what happens to these. And these are not a particular failure of a particular vehicle. These are some market data, some discussion data. And you'll find the battery pack has got severity high. That means if battery, at the bottom of the screen, you'll find the battery fails is going to be very, very severe impact, because cost and a lot of things are involved in battery, because you see the battery cost is almost 40% of the vehicle cost. Then another area which is very interesting, you'll find that severity high, which we sometimes overlook, is the vehicle. Vehicle, you may the frame get bent. We had seen a flurry of Chinese vehicles the last 5, 7, 10 years, and those have really brought in this topic very well. The frame bending and the frame rusting and breakdown of gearbox and differentials, etc. And then you should not also miss the powertrain failures. Indirectly, this screen just shows you the typical failures still happening in the EVs in India, and those need to be addressed. If you take an example of motors, if you take BNDC motor, a lot of the motors have magnets from China or magnets from unreliable sources. They create problem. Child parts have yet not matured. Induction motor reliability, we all know. Their efficiency, we all know they have issues. Remaining all those latest motors we talk of, we go to anybody, he will talk of PMF motor, they will talk of switch reluctance motor, but where is the field data? Why we are insisting on field data? Because field data builds the reliability part of it. Let's see how. I've used some random data and masked the data because it's a discussion with somebody, we made it. B10 life, don't get confused, it's nothing big jargon. It's a viable distribution of life of 10% failure of the population. When are they going to fail, or how long the 90% population is going to last? And this where the financial may be more interested in, because if you remember olden days, the drivers or mechanic will ask, "Saab, overhaul kab karane ka hai? When is my next overhaul?" This is where the 90% lasting point comes, and this is where most of the customer get interested. Most of the financials get interested, and there is a way to calculate the beaten life. You see, for motor, there is a rate of failure, controller, battery, etc. And this is not a calculation all along. This is what we should do to avoid this happening, is by following a proper development life cycle processes. Just see, very simple. If you see at the top of the screen, there are three major things: product planning and definition, product development and verification, production kickoff and mass production. They are all different stages. And today, more often than not, many people we find they just developed a product. While product planning itself, they have not taken reliability into focus, and they launch. And then there are so many social media platforms, they come and say this is great about this vehicle. But where is the testing? If you see the bottom of the screen, how rigorous a testing should be, particularly in automobile, is written there, like what you said, A type component to confirm innovation, cover homologation concepts, type different type of components, different type testing we go on. And last but not the least, we all guarantee the testing of homologation mass production feasibility. Then that's the time we go and launch to the market. Look at this very typical automotive quality management program. And this is just a theory. We all know about this theory. But what is it here I'm trying to bring out is that we should not overlook the flow. Like for me, the R&D, what you see, design validation, DFMEA. Then you move further. Every point of time, there's a failure mode analysis, there's a control plan. And last but not the least, this is my favorite topic. When we go to sales, service, distribution, the market test, market launch with data, with proper reliability test, we should do it. This, to my mind, comes like I feel is slightly being ignored because there's a rush to launch the vehicles. I'm like, these are all theory and these are available in the books. I'm not talking anything new. There are many validation plans, motor controller, battery, etc. But pay attention to the last one at the bottom, where I have said vehicle level accelerated life test. There's a typical IPTV that is incidents per thousand. And I'm very fond of, in fact, Tata Motors, I worked almost for 3 decades. The vehicle testing was extremely important. And what you see is pave and gravel test, what we have in VRDE and many places. And you should take to rural areas, you should take to bad roads. There are 3 types of road, metal, kacha and pakka. And metal is what the tar road or see, kacha is well flat and when you kacha road is absolutely which is broken. So we should try the vehicles there. And you may argue that this EV may or may not go there, but who knows that Amazon fellow has gone to distribute something as a remote corner of the city where there is no Pakka road. And suddenly it is a surprise to him that there is a bump there, there is a gadda there is a dust coming, and the vehicle fails. And there have been many failures. Was speaking to somebody who was into giving logistics 2, 3 years back. And last year I was speaking to him, he was saying 40% of vehicles have come back due to motor failure, due to powertrain failure, etc., because it was not designed for that. Now, one more thing, we are very lucky today that we have this Industry 4.0 coming, so many gadgets coming, onboard diagnostics is possible. So beside doing all the tests what we discussed here, once again, all the validation tests here, we should be very clear that we have continuous data coming in, whether from vehicle, IoT data. There are many good startups who are putting the data in the cloud, and you can see how the components are a lot of predictive and preventive failures can taken care. Similarly, after sales data, in Tata Motors, Mahindra's, Leyland, everywhere, we monitor the launch batch and later batches in the monthly moving averages for long time. Why? Because we want to know if at all any failure is going to come, what can be the root cause, how do we keep correcting it? Imagine the situation today, the vehicle have come to the market and it doesn't have a history. That means there is a suspense of failure. So that is why we keep telling that this validation should be done properly. Some accelerated tests should be done properly. And even in spite of that, particularly market tests, market launch vehicles, we should have real-time data or dealer data continuously coming. Because there's a residual value we need to know. We should know the residual life of the battery and keep taking corrective actions. So I hope I have not rushed it, but when we launch, let us not rush to create market buzz with the minimum value products, viable products. More often than not, I see some of the startups, bright boys, very good product, in a hurry to launch. They launch, the product may be very good, but there's no population being tested, there is no customer feedback has been taken on the vehicle. I'm only worried they should not get hurt and customers should not get hurt. Another thing which is I'm trying to bring out here that with so much of IT technology and customer centric support, let's not forget the key buying factor we discussed in the beginning. The key buying factors remain the reliability, the performance, the total cost of operations, and things like that. That should be always remembered. We should not say, oh, this is a great thing I have given you in my vehicle, which is got from mobile. Your wife can know where you are going and then at what speed you are going, etc., etc. It's okay. It's all hygiene factors. Then we should also have understanding. We should not cut corners in launch. And just to sum up, leave some room for question and answer. And let's design and develop and validate for reliability, durability, plus TCO. Yes, of course, you should go and give modern features, innovations. I am not saying no to modern features and innovations. I'm always for it. But use it for customers' delight and to customers' centricity. That will be all from my side. Let's save the environment. And I'm an avid photographer. And whenever I go to any place, I always feel environment should be maintained, and we all have the responsibility. And electric vehicle is one of the top drive which government of India and we all have taken to save this environment. Thank you. And any questions, we're ready to take that.
Thank you so much, Keshav. I really appreciate your sharing that with us. This is an area that often doesn't get, talked about. It's all about the EV market, the new features, and how to wow the customer. But again, warranty, durability are things that don't get advertised at least. And I think my first question sort of you know talks about that. You mentioned a good point that established OEMs have these processes, have a proper validation sort of rule book, right, when it comes to launching a vehicle. But we have also noticed that first of all, if you look at it from a powertrain perspective, EVs are less complex. I mean, there's less number of components at least. So we know that compared to an ICE vehicle, they would just on paper, if everything is done well, have decent or better durability, right? But we've also been noticing in the past few years that even vehicles from established OEMs, and there are a lot of non-powertrain related failures, and a lot of them tend to point towards electronics. So that's an area that is increasingly, that's basically happening in even a very mass market vehicle these days. Do you really think how do you feel about that? Like, how do you feel how do we tackle something like that? Because there are a lot of recalls happening. India still doesn't have that, a robust process of vehicles being recalled, but there are international, countries there, they have a very robust process there. And we have been seeing that there are like thousands, almost millions of vehicles being recalled from OEMs such as Toyota. So what do you make of that?
I know what you have in mind, and I fully subscribe to that. Recall processes. Let's understand one thing that I have had seen roughly 7 to 8 historical launches, and 2 of them I have led, like Tata Ace and Xenon. I was head of service that time for a region or international business. Launch has got some issues coming up. Even with Apollo 13, we had a problem. And those are known as, we should understand, cradle to grave theory of the entire life cycle of vehicle. And the point what you're trying to make is valid, that so far there are a lot of cradle failures, low kilometer failures. And there's a basic reason being very simple. We have not seen the life cycle of the vehicle as yet. Like up to the grave, up to the end of the vehicle life, we should have seen 1 or 2 possible lives. But that is not possible today. The customer is not going to wait for 15 years by that theory. So point I'm trying to make is that accelerated testing. Like I'm told there is a recall by Kona, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes. There's a major issue on fires. Yeah.
Yeah. So if you dwell on it, what would have been the reason? So it's not easy. You know why? like our body mechanism. I have now my many seniors and many people gone to hospital and say renal failure has started or this organ has affected that organ and things like that. And the entire body is a complex system. So is the vehicle. Until we are tested thoroughly and designed for it. And one of the point which maybe a little off the cuff remark, we believe till now the EV story is not the EV story exactly. It's a retrofitment story. We have removed the engine and gearbox, etc., and try putting what you call motor controller and latest electronic devices. But please understand, even when you read a famous book of this thing, Wheels, and there you find that Mustang, when the famous Mustang was launched, it has so many teething problems. And the test track, and they were never happy when the Mustang was getting launched. Then one bright test driver told that you put a patch of weight there and maybe it may be solved. A shudder at the speed of 89, 90 kilometers an hour may go away. See, look at the complexity of the automobile system. And many people have doing this mix and match. I will get the best motor, I will get the best control, I will get the best gearbox and put it. No, it doesn't work that way because it is all has to be designed together. So probably I've answered that question.
Yes, you have. Um, I think my next one is to do with the point that you brought up, right? That customers may not be, especially in India, right? Uh, we have to see value in something before we purchase it. That's just basically how pretty much everybody operates here, and I actually see that as a fantastic thing. But you mentioned that customers are worry of getting into the EV domain or buying EV vehicles because there is no real life data, there is no accelerated testing, and even if it's done, that data isn't been published. But we also have vehicles from OEMs, Tata, for example, right, where there is a number associated with how long the battery is going to last, how long some of the electric components are going to last, and they're pretty robust. They're way more than most ICE vehicles tend to offer. So in spite of with that, in that sort of a situation where that data is available, and again, we know prices tends to be an issue, but still I believe the take rate is very slow compared to what it could have been. So what else do you think is at play here? If that data is published, if that and I think that is one of the vehicles, the Nexon EV is one of the vehicles which hasn't really reported a lot of issues from the field, right? It's pretty positive coming from wherever it's been sold so far. So what else do you feel could be slowing down or giving a pause as far as people taking up EVs?
See, I think what Nexon or other one of the top of the line cars have done well, my whatever background information I have is I think a lot of involvement in the design stage. A lot of simulation. Today, the simulation is available with you, and a lot of humongous data of they had with the customers from ICE and they had the customer in the past, etc. And don't forget Tata's and they are all global company now with JLR also with them, right? They have got this Tata Auto Components with them. So they have got enormous data available. They have experience for the design and simulation, etc. Probably whenever I think of this, I give these marks to them for that. That they have been might have been working for a long time, and the design of the system, design of the motors, design of the powertrain, everywhere they were involved with a lot of, we call it maturity targets. I forgot to touch that point. Thanks for bringing it up. We call it maturity targets. That what would any customer expect at the end of the life? What any customer would expect in the middle of the life? We call it maturity targets. What will be the IPTV then? You instead per thousand. What will be the possibility of that, and how do I reduce it in the design stage, etc. Probably that may be one of the reasons, and the validation simulation may be one of the reasons that some of them have hit the point.
Yes, I mean, makes sense, right? They have in the recent years they have come up with vehicles that I think are pretty par on with international companies. But the main question here was that in spite of having such a good product and one that has verified, sorry, claimed numbers on, it's got a 8-year powertrain warranty. The battery pack is supposed to last up to 101 like 60,000 kilometers. So in spite of all of that, there is still not enough of a take rate. when it comes to people buying EVs, right? What do you feel? What else do you think is missing?
Then we are in India. We should also
Right.
appreciate we don't buy EV because it is EV, right? We look at our pocket, we look at the monthly EMI. I think we are on the cusp of that point in another year or two when the EV cost will become equal to the IC vehicle cost. And a lot of people are debating on Bloomberg. I was reading some article on that. They predict 2024. Somebody predicts 2023, where these two prices will start coming together. And I have also seen another report where it says it makes a lot of sense to buy EV car when your running is more than 40 kilometers per day and petrol at around 80 or 85 rupees a liter, then it makes a lot of sense. So slowly customer will shift, but right now customer doesn't want to get into it because of inertia, number one. Number two, he doesn't see that why should I buy a car of this segment where the IC bigger car of other segment is available to me. So perhaps one of the points here I'm trying to make is that the the entire cost of the vehicle, whether we call it battery cost touching $150 per kilowatt hour or going below that, that's always we keep dreaming whenever we get up in the morning. But ultimately, the 40% cost is going to the battery. So the vehicle cost, but at the same time, I like to make a point here that let's also look at what's the body looking like. Is it the still diesel vehicle body, the still petrol vehicle body? Are we doing enough lightweighting? There's another topic which we can touch upon later, which also brings in reliability because the vehicle has a lot of scope in shaving off the weight from the vehicle. Once you shave off the vehicle, weight from the vehicle, then the range increases and the battery cost also comes down.
True. I completely agree there. That's vehicles are getting heavier by the day, and I think a lot of some of it is to do with safety equipment, but a lot of it just tends to be features keep getting added on to the vehicle. So that totally makes sense. Um, from a warranty, from just a warranty perspective, customer likes, dislikes are changing what they want, how they're perceiving vehicles. We are definitely seeing that the average purchase price of vehicles is going up, has been going up for the past few years. It's still going to go up as we go along. So let's assume for a second that all the durability testing has been carried out. It's a finished product, versus some of these startups that have sprung up all over the country, especially in the two-wheeler space, where products have come to market very quickly. How as a customer, how do you help them make a decision? Because at the end of the day, none of the OEMs, yeah, if we compare, like, let's say a startup versus an established OEM that has done the testing, how do we publish numbers? How do we make the customer aware that product A has had the testing, has gone through the requisite planning and validation, versus OEM B or product B, which has just come to market, whether it's assembled, not done the testing, whatever. The customer doesn't know, and that usually tends to they tend to go with either public opinion or just brand loyalty, a lot of different things. Any thoughts there?
Yes. You made a point, and that has been our challenge for a long time. And then a lot of OBD2 onboard diagnostics, etc., is coming, and then the new norms are coming in BS6. That's the IC part of it. But when we come to electric vehicle, what happens today, we really don't have. I really don't have the correct answer for you because there's a lot of haziness in the market, and we are not very transparent. Let us accept it. We don't publish data transparently. We don't have mechanism to, like, if you ask me, I would have had another ARI or ICAT, which is only monitoring the launch, post-launch, and giving some kind of a certificate or some kind of a validation to the RTOs, etc. But this has gone through this cycle and we are sure of this. And the financiers, I find one of the answers coming for you is a lot of finance companies, auto finance companies, or government institutions, or logistics companies, they have started demanding this data from the manufacturer, like particularly for three-wheelers and four-wheelers, etc. And I hope two-wheelers also it happens. If I'm financing a vehicle for you, then I have got all the right to write off many things and I have to understand the risk of failures. Then there should be, I hope, probably I'm not that well read. There should be some kind of a standard which should be available to the financier, to the customer, that look, this vehicle has gone through this, and this has been certified by this. But that is again sample data. So what your point you are raising, that over the year it should be also published. Probably that's the point you are saying, that these are the manufacturers, these are
Yes,
like
either over the years, or something similar to JD Power, right? JD Power
GD,
does this. Yeah,
coming to
but again, even they tend to come from customer service, but they don't merge the customer and the OEM surveys, right? So that's what it was something I was going with.
yes, yes, I was coming to that. JD Power is one of the very reliable, it has been doing the survey for a long time. And perhaps for EV, you can have evolved a little more detailed, what you call metrics or matrices for that.
Okay. Okay, so I see a lot of questions coming from the audience, but I do have one or two more before we roll into that. Or actually, you know what? Let's take a few from them. This is from Soba Sekar. He's asking, how do you balance between the time to market and the reliability aspect? So I know simulation telematics are helping to some extent. What are some of the other methods or techniques to do you suggest?
See, I'm a typically biased person so far. I have been to me not very long, and my Tata Motor experience and automobile experience. We believe in torturing the vehicle in all the design of experiments. That so many type of roads, so many type of speed, so many type of load, and you design that, okay, minimum 9 tests will be required, and over the years we have learned a trick where to test it the real life, how much to overload and what speed to run, and keep running for kilometers after kilometers. It gives a kind of accelerated report. And I feel EV should go through all such tortures and real life tests before launch. Even maybe it may be for a month or two, but it should be. You learn so much out of it. You prevent your brand name. You prevent customers' agony. And if you give a two-wheeler to somebody, I would say take it to a dusty area like Rajasthan and keep running in the summer for 2 months outside Jaipur, where the temperature is 50 degrees Celsius or something like that. And then see, or take it to Cherrapunji kind of place where it's raining continuously, and run it and see what's happening. I'm like, there's no replacement for this. That simulation validation is okay within the premises, is okay, fine. But most of the automobile companies, the R&D, ERC, etc., they trust a lot these tests more than the internal tests being done. And EV also calls for that. Thanks for asking that question. I strongly believe that the EV should also go through even new two-wheeler, or even it is 25 km or less speed, let it go through those tortures. Let us go to real market tests, where they give it to few customers or few people who are known for, like Swiggy delivery guy, who keep running the whole day, and see what the feedback is.
Yes, that's a fantastic point you make. It's better to wait than launch a half-baked product. Uh, yeah, I think a lot of OEMs can take some, knowledge from that, I guess. Okay, my next question is a bit contentious, but and again, it's completely up to you if you're okay to answer it. But I think this is something everyone has read about this recent news, right, or issue with the Tata Nexon customer in Delhi, right, where how the state government acted. Uh, Everybody has their own opinion, and with your experience in the industry, right, what do you feel like? What does that whole situation tell you?
I will not directly say
Yeah.
anything, but I can only say once a Tata, always a Tata. And I have been with Tatas for a long time, and I have also handled customer care for around 10 years, 5 years domestic at the head of South, and international business for 4 years. I always believe there is something called procedure. Uh,
Mm,
and we have had some cases. It goes to consumer forum, consumer courts first, and governments come much later. Government doesn't even come immediately. RT or the government doesn't come immediately. There's a procedure level one, two, three, four. Customer complaint comes, he goes to the consumer court, and then we investigate it. We try to satisfy, and there is a levels, at which it grows. But somehow, I think it was taken everybody by surprise the way it uh, came to that level. But okay, sometimes the such things do happen. But I think the company handled it in a very matured way, and uh, and I think that this is one learning from for the whole country that way. That because we all understand statistics well, one outlier or one this thing cannot generalize the whole thing. So Tata Nexon is I think now touched figure of what 500 plus per month.
Of sorry, what figure?
Tata Nexon figure is what 500 plus per month. What is it now?
You mean the sales figures?
Yeah.
I think they've crossed 3,000 last month. That's what I remember. I
I'm
don't know the latest numbers.
for last so many this
Yeah,
thing.
yeah, they've pretty much picked up in the last 6, say 7 months. So yes, that I think that would be a good
So
estimate.
I
Yes.
think it's a little surprise actions, and I mean we should always follow the procedure and
Mm.
suddenly not skip them. That's my thought when I read in the newspaper. And being a service guy, always also I was very surprised how it
Mhm.
suddenly headline and things like that.
Makes sense. I actually was trying to touch, and I appreciate that. Completely understand where your viewpoints are coming from. But I was trying to touch upon a more, more of a larger industry level issue that when it comes to warranty, when it comes to, published numbers, right? And I'm asking this question as a neutral, a neutral question, not in reference with any particular OEM. Don't you feel that agencies like ARAI, like the government had a very stringent, response to this issue, correct? But test agencies like ARAI and ICAT are are basically run by the government, are government agencies. Do you feel that they at some level are also responsible for making sure that the numbers that get published or the tests that are happening, especially in EVs. We know this range issue is not just in India; it's happened abroad where new launch vehicles have claimed 300 miles and have come down to 180, right? When the weather was cold or whatever that may be. So, do you feel that test agencies and at a government level there could be a better weight so that OEMs can, there's just no way for anybody to publish something wrong or incorrect.
Said, let us understand whether ARI or ICAT, you have to give them power, you have to give them authority, you have to give them opportunity. Like, in Bharat stage 6 and 4, etc. I always debated that once ARI or anybody has passed it, what happens after it hits the road? Now we have taken cognizance of that. The vehicles are picked up from the dealers, vehicles can be picked up from the customer, whether it is going through emission norm or not. That's just an example I'm giving. So ARI and ICAT, etc., should be really encouraged to audit the data, what's happening after the launch. That's the point perhaps you're trying to make, and perhaps they should have the access to analyze the data after the launch. Before launch, they have done everything. I will never doubt it. Before launch, whatever tests are there in the standard, they have done their job. But that is under test condition, that is under the particular condition what has been done. But after launch, we should we should give them authority, we should give them kind of facilities that they should take the market data, go to the dealer or people should transfer it to the warranty data, give to them. And today in the computer world, we can analyze and come out with reliability, what we were discussing, or beat and viable distribution, etc. That we can be done. The only thing is that we should give them authority, we should give them the chance to get and help the nation well after the sales.
And do you feel that the standards themselves could also, be updated to reflect what the real customer is going to see? Because
That they
again,
do.
right now, yeah,
That,
okay.
that government of India, ARI and SIAM, everything they are doing, I have got no doubt about it. They're
Okay.
constantly thinking about the customer, whether you say crash and all those things coming, seat belts
Mhm.
coming, and similarly EV, a lot of standards have been upgraded. They're doing a fantastic job. I got no doubt about it. And many industrial champions are there in the committees. They keep
Mhm.
updating them, and they are very much ear to the ground. I have got no doubt about it.
Okay. All right. Question from the audience, from Vijay. So he thanks you for your insightful slides on reliability versus durability. However, he's asking that the Indian customers' purchase cycle or vehicle retention cycle has changed, right? Now people are cycling through vehicles more often compared to before when people used to own vehicles for 15 or 20 years. So with that in mind, why would somebody spend more on durability of in design? That is what his question is.
Durability, customer may or may not be immediately interested because he's changing. That's why one of my slides I forgot to ask one question: who is the customer? Customer is a stakeholder. A stakeholder is also a customer. Suppose I am a battery manufacturer, I am giving my battery to your vehicle. We both are customer to each other. We all understand that. And at the end of the day, the leasing company, if I am giving using a Zoom model or pay-per-use model, on that day I hired a vehicle of somebody and I'm not interested in durability. It's okay. Now who's the customer? Customer is the Zoom guy. He is funding or leasing the vehicle. He will demand durability. See, end customer may be in morning and evening. You know, a lot of auto rickshaws will be only given in the somebody will go to the auto stand. I will hire it for the day and earn money, give you some portion of yours and take my money home. I may not like to buy auto rickshaw anymore. I may not like to buy a small vehicle anymore. Or I will not even like to buy a two-wheeler for my delivery anymore. I'll go to some Yulu kind of thing or साहब मेरे को दे दीजिए आज के लिए. I will pay, use it and pay you whatever you want and make my money. He may not be interested, but the Yulu guy will be interested. I want reliability. I want durability also because I am funding it. Some other stakeholder is going to put his money. So please understand that. The customer doesn't mean always the end customer who is riding the vehicle. The stakeholder. I hope I answered Vijay.
Agreed, agreed, sir. I think if I may just button, but I think there's a lot of experience coming through from what you shared, and for a great learning. Thank you.
I missed out on that. Can anybody clarify?
I think he just appreciated the insights you give and he thanks you for that.
Yes,
Uh,
my pleasure.
okay. Okay, so let's take a question. So Vishal is asking how non-OEM entering into the field can be considered as one of the challenges as depicted in the PPT. Does that give you enough, or should we ask him to rephrase the question?
It's okay. You please repeat again.
Okay. His question is how are non-OEMs entering into the field can be considered as one of the challenges as depicted in the PowerPoint?
I would say it's a challenge. I will also say it's an opportunity. He may look the vehicle totally differently, like the Tesla did. Tesla never made a vehicle in their own life, and they came out with the vehicle. So challenge doesn't mean that he's a threat. Challenge also means an opportunity. So I don't label the new guys as a non-OEM coming as a threat. I'm only raising a flag that they should come. Most welcome. In fact, they might change the game of the OEMs. They might bring some Tesla in two-wheeler or three-wheeler or four-wheeler. I don't know. We should not discourage them. This entire presentation should not be taken as discouraging the startups. I'm only discouraging the rush to grab attention, rush to occupy social media, rush to be in the news headlines and things like that. I'm only saying try to copy the rule book a little bit. Try to understand FMEAs, try to understand validation, try to understand torture tests, try to understand system integration and things like that. I am not discouraging any startup. In fact, some startups, in fact, I'm a huge fan of the Yulu group and I'm a huge fan of many of this. Maybe Ola may be coming out a new story and Aether can another story. So it's not anything against that, but one should always follow the path which has been laid for years together in validation and reliability and durability. Yeah.
Absolutely. Yes. Okay. Somebody in the audience, LR Chandru, has raised his hand. Do you have a question? Okay. All right. Uh, let's see. Just one moment. Okay, Soma Sekar has a follow-up. What are your thoughts on ensuring the reliability even with the abusive usage of customers? If I may just answer that for you, if you don't mind. I think you've covered that already, that vehicles have to be designed with the customer in mind, right? So I mean, even if the usage of the customer the typical profile of an Indian customer is rough
Well,
use, then that vehicle has to be designed.
I will take one point here.
Go
I
ahead.
showed 4 stages of vehicle development. If you remember, those 4 diagrams, elliptical diagrams, and how it came to existence. In sometime in 2000, a big brand in Germany, they launched a vehicle, and it was criticized by the entire nation on newspapers. That was the day they came out with the thought of this maturity target and end of the life, what possible failures can happen. Middle of life, what possible failures can happen. And they addressed from the day one of launch. That's why I showed that diagram. Probably I might repeat it again later. But one has to keep not only the customer in mind, but what is possibility after 5 years, battery terminal, will it become weak or will it become like this, or shall it get rusted, or the body will become like this, paint may peel off. That keep in mind that the maturity target and work backward to take it under DFME and FME, the beginning itself.
Agreed. Yes. Any product, I agree with you completely, has to be designed with the worst case of abuse that it is going to see. So absolutely. Okay. So we have, discussed a lot about warranty. What are some of the challenges? The next one is one of my favorite questions, and I think it's a favorite question for everybody these days, or a favorite topic is Atmanirbhar, right? When it comes to that, okay, how do you think it should come with some engineering targets, some sort of real life targets that companies, OEMs have to follow? Like we have ISO standards and stuff like that. Right now, it just tells you, let's make more things in house. Makes sense. But do
Actually,
they have to live up to something?
Actually, if you ask me, I'll give you a little very different answer. Atmanirbhar is a master stroke. Please try to understand this. All subsidy will remain back in India. Earlier, what was happening? The subsidy was somehow getting siphoned out of India. We were giving subsidies. Subsidy was given coming back to India. If a vehicle had 60,000 subsidy and 40% subsidy was going to a not so friendly neighbor in the past, that 40% subsidy will remain in India. See the point I'm trying to make here, that 40% subsidy coming back to India is the investment for quality, is the investment for stopping the mix and match. I always feel, let's be a little patient. Atmanirbhar plus FAME 2 is a master stroke. Why? We'll be forced to make it in-house. That's why the great countries came up, whether Japan, Korea, or anybody. They wanted to make everything at home. And this is how we are going to stop two things. One, the subsidy going out of the country for unknown reasons. And two, that subsidy comes as an incentive to invest in R&D and stop this mix and match business. It may take a little time. Of course, the standard, all my life of 30 years, particularly in Tata, people ask me what have you learned? I say a cliche: customer is the king. Customer sets the standard. Is the marketplace set by customer? He accepts or rejects it. That's it. Governments and we can go on long lists of standards, etc. But Atmanirbhar plus FAME 2 plus customer expectation will set the standards by itself. Give a little time, and of course, I agree with you. Other bodies, SOR, when we release the company release SOR for Atmanirbhar, etc., they should demand Indian powertrain companies and demand Indian battery companies the same level of qualification what demanded from Japanese or Chinese or other companies and Korean companies. To answer you, Atmanirbhar plus FAME 2 remains the master stroke. Give a little time, is going to deliver. And only thing is we should trust that wisdom of Indian companies investing on R&D and D and stopping the mix and match. And a lot of multinationals have come in, which are going to help here to make in India. And I'm sure Make in India will be a grand success. Make in India plus EV will save us huge amount of environmental revenues flowing out of the country.
Thank you for sharing that initial bit about that. I think a lot of people have heard the term and know the term, but may not have related it with the fact that all that subsidy coming back and being invested in, at the end of the day for the quality of the product. So that's a very interesting insight that you provided. Okay, I think we're pretty close to end of the session here. Let's see if we have anything else from the audience before we. Uh, okay. Okay, so this is a question from Karun. If you can have your comments on high warranty cost for EV powertrain components, what sort of strategies the OEMs could take?
See, high warranty cost, please try to understand why it is coming. My personal feedback or whatever I say is going to come because of sometimes very silly things like non-standard connectors or non-standard terminals or non-standard wire harness or whatever you call it. So it will for some time let us accept it that high warranty cost will be there for some time because we are all in the learning curve. We are trying to mature. There is no shortcut. Learning is always little painful and it takes little longer time, and that's why this accelerated test etc may help, but it's all theory because the entire 12 months of India, not 2 months are same. So the vehicle or the product has to go through all torture cycles and things like that. And we will keep on learning, keep on updating. But incidents per thousand vehicle will definitely drop. In another 6 months or 1 year, they are definitely going to drop because we are learning fast. People are quickly going back to drawing boards and then manufacturing and improving it. But it cannot be avoided so fast. There's no shortcut until unless you have everything well designed, you buy everything from standard sources and you don't cut corners on buying something sasta in the middle, and you understand that the system is like all in series, something in the middle has got low reliability, it multiplies, it fails. You buy a bad fuse, you buy a small bad wire somewhere, it can disturb the whole system.
Okay, appreciate that, Keshav. Okay, I think we've sort of ran over time today. We do apologize if we've taken too much of your time. Uh, I this has been an amazing session. I have to say that we don't touch upon warranty, durability, and some with your experience definitely brings different sort of take on things. And what I think the audience will agree we appreciate most is your very candid views on, and also very positive view on what is happening in the country. A lot of times we hear people in general, like we try to find faults with what's happening, but it's nice to hear for a change that had to have some faith in things that are going on, and that it's going to be for the best. So I really appreciate you taking the time, Keshav. And again, from the entire Gyanaki team. And before we sort of log off, would you like to share some words with us before we do that?
I thank Yaniki and thank you, thanks Shekhar, and thank this wonderful audience. And I feel I've been a speaker in my past avatars a lot. I feel little when I can't interact directly face to face in a classroom kind of situation is with a challenge. But I can see that we have very enthusiastic audience. I thank each and everybody and give a simple message that the customer is vast, including we should not forget your society is also stakeholder, your banks are stakeholders. EV is not only for you or not only on the road itself. It's the whole country, we are all stakeholders. That's why it's important to look at reliability and durability so that adoption is faster. I strongly feel that if the banks get convinced, if the financial leasing companies get convinced that I will get residual value, it's going to last for more than 7 to 10 years, it's going to help me in the whole business, I'll fund it aggressively, and that's probably accelerate the adoption faster. And that is why it's our duty and our responsibility to look at all stakeholders, not the end customer alone. Uh, like a charging station fellow has put up charging station and crores of rupees he has spent on it, and now there's no customer. He's sitting. Why? Because vehicles not getting sold. Why? Because there's no finance available. So we look at the not only customer, we look at the stakeholders, and we work together. All stakeholders work together, and to deliver this, make this EV adoption faster. We know the reason why. There have been enough data available that how much EV adoption will save the country, save the environment, and health cost. And there was recently Mr. Srivastava speaking on the cost of health and cost of other indirect costs, and it's enormous. Like we don't even fathom it out how much it will be. So if we have to make EV adoption a success, we should all focus, win the confidence, win the trust. Then only adoption will be faster. Otherwise, we'll be all playing gimmicks. I have this device, I have that device, etc., etc. That's not going to help anybody.
Thank you for that. Thank you for sharing that. Once again, thank you from the entire Ganaki team, and thanks to the audience for being so patient and coming up with some nice questions. I think we will pretty much close out for the day, and we hope to see. And we hope that Keshav, if you ever have time on a Saturday morning, you can at least join us back and be part of one of our other events. It happens every Saturday, and would be great to And you've been a great audience before as well. You have always have insightful questions, so we hope that can continue. Okay, I guess that's about it. Thank you very much, everybody.
Thank you everybody. Thank you audience. Thank you Ganiki team. It was nice